The main reason we did this redesign, so it could be mobile responsive across devices. So as I pull it like that, it adapts to the screen size. Really important that it's able to do that for the artists that are traveling. This is our home page. It's pretty much the same. You've got a list of participating events, you've got the blog, and then we've got our help center information right here, as well as contact support is a bit more front and center now. So if you do have artists who have technical questions and you can't remember our support line, which is contact.zapp@weststaff.org, you can just direct them right to this button and they'll have this option to fill out a form and send it to us. We'll be able to answer that right away. So we're just going to go through a little bit what it would look like as a new user on this site. The first thing that a new user would do after they sort of, look through all the things that they can look through that are on the public site would be to sign up. ZAPP is, and always will be, free to artists. There's no payment or anything they have to do at this stage. There are 5 sections to the registration page. So legal, teams, and associates, which will, somebody did have a question when they filled out the webinar form, so we'll talk about teams and associates in there. Basic contact information, medium categories, and then communication preferences. So if I'm a new user, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to hopefully read this legal agreement and then check that box. I have CAPTCHA. This just helps keep our site free of bots and spam, which is great for everybody. And then you can go here and fill out, the basic information here. This is how you spell our support line, which is contact ZAPP@weststaff.org, Weststaff with 1 F. Quick information here. Our passwords do need to have 7 characters, 1 capital, 1 number. Again, just to keep the site secure, since we do have, money and information and everybody's artwork is on here, we want to make sure that stays as secure as possible. The one thing I do want to mention about email addresses is that we do go through and check them as we see them bouncing. We have a series of reports we can run on our side. So we do our best to keep the email addresses that artists use to talk to you guys, essentially, so that you guys could talk to them. We do our best to keep those accurate just as much as we can on our end. And there are a few things you can do on your end to double check them as well. We're not going to talk about them today, but just know that we do sort of double check these emails if we see them bounce, things like that. So if I am an artist who's working with a team, I'll select team here. And if I work with associates, I'll select yes. And then I'll get to this page. So I have the option to add a team collaborator, and then I have the option to add up to 3 associates. If I was going to do that, I would go ahead and add all the information here. Every field that is in bold is required. Just to save some time, I'm going to go ahead and just switch these. So we can go right here. This is just your basic information regarding where artists are from, addresses, phone numbers. One thing I do want to say about this is that you don't need to ask this information. This is automatically downloaded in your contacts report and certain parts that are in your answers report as well. So you don't necessarily need to ask for their address because the system automatically records that information, and when they submit an application to your event, you should see this information reflected there. So we'll just fill this out really quick. And they also have the option to add business or studio name. It's a more recent feature on the admin artist side, and you can see that reflected in your downloadable reports as well. So we have had some admins start to ask us about mobile phone numbers and recording mobile phone numbers for artists. If you do want to record a mobile phone number, we do recommend that you ask it as a separate question, just because these are likely to be mobile phone numbers as we move forward with technology. A lot of people are starting to enter their mobile phone as their primary or their alternate phone number, but it's not necessarily a guarantee that that is the number that will be best to reach them on the day of the festival. So just for full coverage, we would recommend you asking that question in your application if that's information you wish to record. Then we get to the medium categories. So this is used mostly for our internal purposes because, as you may know, you can go ahead and add your own medium categories however you would like. And so you can sort of make them, you type them in. So it's not restricted to these categories. But on our end, this is what it looks like, and this is how we run a few statistics. One of the things we do with this is that it controls who we send our single show e-blast. So if you do purchase an e-blast from us, these are the categories that we are able to narrow it down by, so you can target the artists that you would like to. So as soon as you select at least one option, this turns green. If I were to select no options, it would turn red. And that is also new. It helps people, kind of figure it out earlier on what's going on. So that's one of those design changes we made. And then these are our communication emails. This hasn't changed very much. Our communication policy is linked here if you ever were curious to read it. But these are the emails artists will get directly from us. So that's a show information email that happens every Wednesday, single show e-blast. I kind of talked about a bit before. And then system information. So for instance, the announce of this new site was done through system information. And then you also have the option, if you'd like, for additional advertising materials to purchase a postcard mailing list. So I'm going to keep this account all subscribed. And so if I were to continue on, we would submit and create an account. You go right to your My ZAPPlications page, which is the hub for every single artist. It does look a bit different than it did before, and so it may be a bit of a learning curve. So if you do have artists who are having a lot of questions and they're having a hard time finding things, particularly on this page, you're always welcome to redirect them to us, or you can help them if you know the answer. We'll go ahead and log out and log into an account with ZAPPlication so you could see what this looks like right now. So log out is over here in our fun new menu. Okay, so this is what the My ZAPPlications page looks like now. So as we go down, I have the option to review this application. So it's automatically sorted by application date right now, which is the same as it was sorted before. We released this with a slightly different sort option, but after hearing some feedback, we changed it into this kind of more drop-down and more detailed explanation of how this page is sorting. These are all of the different sort options artists now have. So they have the ability to sort by the application date with the most recent one being at the top, or by the application date with the oldest one being at the top. Same with payments. So this payments refers to this right here. The cool thing about this is also a receipt. So artists can see a receipt right on this page without having to leave it. And then you also have artists also have the option to sort by actions. So if I choose to sort by actions, it brings up the one with the accept or reject invitation, followed by complete/checkout, and then followed by review. And so there's a specific order to these actions. So if users are curious about the exact order, we can definitely write it out for them so that they have it. But for right now, actions is probably one of our more misunderstood sort options. So we are definitely willing to help anyone who has any questions about that. Status A to Z. So artists see the exact same status you see on your end. So that means that they see, invited, received, accepted, things like that. And then they have, under their status, they have these options. And then show name is just alphabetical. Portfolio will be the next place a new artist would go because they need to upload images. So I've already uploaded quite a few images here, but I'll go over what this page exactly does. So the storage limit now exists over here. It used to be up top a little bit more, but for additional clarity, we put it down here so that artists see what their storage limit is and then see their images. Selecting any of these images allows you to view the details. You have the ability to copy any image, edit it, and delete. Again, the buttons are just a little bit more front and center. We just want to make this a bit more clear, a bit more accessible to any user. So that is the purpose of this. You can always click to enlarge, hit exit, and then we'll go ahead and go back to the portfolio. And if an artist is ready to upload a piece of new media, there's this green Upload Media button. And it pretty much looks the same as it did before in a lot of ways, just a little bit more like a modern design. The booth shot is now a toggle at the top, so it just makes those options disappear or be visible. So a booth shot, once it's in your portfolio, has this nice handy little star in it so that you can easily differentiate like that. So we haven't heard any problems with this page particularly, but the most problems any artist had before and probably after this update will be just making sure they meet our image requirements, which just ensures they're at a high resolution for you guys. So if they do have questions about those guidelines, they can check out this image preparation guideline help guide as essentially. It just lets them know what are the ideal image requirements and what are our minimum image requirements. We have also a variety of tutorials for different online photo editors. And we revamped this help page as well. So just given the feedback we've gotten over the years, so this is a new help page for image preparation. So the other cool thing we do on my portfolio is we still have the option to create statements of technique. Artists can create up to 6 of them, and it just kind of looks like this. It brings up a little pop-up. So You can type the statement title, character limit, and the text. So this is a saved response that artists can submit for your description of materials and techniques, which is a required question on every single application. And so all of that exists within the portfolio. When artists are applying to shows, our newest little tweak to the site has been to automatically drop down our search and sort results. And they kind of allow artists to know that they can search and sort, and they can do that like right from the beginning here. We changed our favorite from a checkbox to a heart, just because it's more fun that way. And because it's a more universal symbol, that's the actual reason. And then you also have the ability to sort alphabetically. You can sort by start date, and you can sort by deadline. So if I sort by deadline, the first events that come up are the ones that have deadlines the soonest. So all of these deadlines that you'll see are today. We see you have a few test shows happening with deadlines happening today as well. This is just a really quick way for artists to see the activity that's happening really, really soon in terms of applications that are closing. So they also have the option to search for any event that they may be looking for. Or they can filter by, again, the event name, or they can filter by the state, event month, deadline month, region, or event type. Most of these can be done at the same time, but the only one that can't are region and state. So you can either choose to sort by region, or you can choose to sort by state. And so the Apply to Shows page is almost exactly the same as the Participating Events page. Again, it has these drop-downs already done. But if you'll notice, when all of the events load, there are 788 events in here. Whereas for Apply to Shows, there were only, I believe there was 292 events. So the Participating Events page shows every single event that has a current license with ZAPP. That does not mean that they are necessarily accepting applications. Their event could in fact have passed. We only take shows off the participating events list when you go ahead and renew your license with us. And we take it off so that you can make edits, and then when you're ready to go live, you just go ahead and let us know. And we set your show live, and it shows back up on participating events until your Apply to Shows date happens. So again, we have basic information and then more information. This is what an event information page looks like right now. The information, the important requirements and contact information, dates, and everything are right here at the top. You have the ability to favorite the event on the event page. And then the cool thing that we added on this page was a series of buttons that will take you to any section. So I could jump to booth information right from the top there and go down and see it. On mobile, when you're on a mobile device, there is, in fact, an arrow that kind of pops up right over here that you can just click to bring you back to the top. So less scrolling in that sense. Jury details are also now included on this page rather than as a pop-up, so that all of the information is just on the main page. Apply to Show, still a green button, still the ability to view the legal agreement, all of that. It looks the same. The final way artists can kind of look for events is going to be the event calendar. And so the event calendar, to be compliant with mobile, has these dots. What I do want to say about this is that this is pretty different from what we had originally, which was the days had lists of events, and it wasn't super mobile compatible. But because we found that that was really important to artists, we are looking at ways to incorporate more of what the old calendar looks like into this view. We're looking at a few different options in there. So that could be a change that happens really soon. But we will always still have the option for this more condensed version that's just a little bit more easy to read on mobile. So blue dots are event start dates, green dots are accepting application dates, and application deadlines are red dots. Scroll down, you have the list of the day's activity. And again, you can see a bit more information about the shows on this view. So you can just go ahead and see, like, what we call them are event cards that just kind of give a bit of information for the event. Just like the participating events and Apply to Shows page, you have the option to search by event name, city, state, region, or event type. We're going to go ahead and apply to this one. You have linked your socials. They'll be right here as well. Information over here and socials over there. Apply to Show. Same thing as before. You got to agree to the legal agreement before you can move on. And then you can, same, select your show medium category. I'll go ahead and insert a saved statement that I put. We'll just throw this in here. and then answer some required questions. So these are still the same required question types as before. So this is what a short answer response looks like. Again, you control the character limit on here. This is what the single select option looks like. Help links are shown as these little question marks now. And then this is what the drop down looks like. Most of these look pretty much the same as before. The biggest thing that changed here is one, they turn green. Some of them have those green outlines when you've completed them and there are required questions. And then the multi-select checkbox turns green as well. But the biggest difference is that the help link is now this question mark. And this is what an instructional piece of text looks like. You're welcome to bold this if you'd like to make it a little bit more apparent. In the selected samples, so we now have two sections. So this is probably the biggest difference between the old ZAPP and the more new ZAPP is we now have this area where artists can essentially, when they click on image, it moves up here to be quote unquote attached to their application rather than just single selecting it. So the order I select my images are the order they will be shown in the jury. Booth shot always last, just as always. But so you can tell by these numbers. So we've got a 1 and then a 3 and then a 2 and then a 4. And then up here, you'll have them in that order. That is how image order is done now. And this is where essentially artists can see that they've attached image to their application. And this button is also really interesting. So this is not a super new feature, but this is one that's still pretty underused, I would say. This allows artists to see images that they submitted in the past if they have applied to your festival multiple times. This is a brand new account, so it hasn't applied to this festival yet. If it had, I'd be able to see the images I submitted in previous years, so that can be really helpful moving forward. So we'll click Save and Preview. Got the ability to preview the application as always. And then either we can preview as a juror. This is only available on desktop because of the nature of the jury. So preview as a juror is not available if you're on a mobile device, but as long as you're on a desktop, you'll be able to see it. And I can then apply to more shows, or I can go right to checkout. So we're going to go right to checkout right now. And this is the new ZAPP shop. So the ZAPP shop used to be a bit more multi-page. So every time you would move from one step to another step, you see we have these steps now, you would essentially go to another page. So we really tried to streamline this process and make it a bit more clear because it wasn't one of our most clear pages in the past. So application fees, like always, are always added automatically to the cart. Artists can go ahead and empty the cart and remove them if they decide they don't want to pay, but they are automatically added. And once something is added, it gets this nice green check mark right here. So they can't add it twice in a row. And then all festivals are listed under these like gray drop downs, and then you can go ahead and collapse them, or as I did when we first got to this page, I can choose to expand them all or collapse them all, and then just find, hey, I want to look at this show because this is the show I'm trying to apply to right now. And so when I'm ready to move on, I can go to next step. So this is where I could update the quantities if I wanted to. So an application fee, you can't really update the quantity for. So let's go ahead and add a booth fee in there for this show. And when we go to next step, now I'll have the option to change the quantity that I'm getting of these booths. So one of our goals with this was that in the past, it wasn't always clear when you added multiples of one product type to your cart. And so what we try to do here is ensure that you as artists can't essentially purchase 13 booths by accident. Like that's something that happened in the past. So we're really trying to ensure that the update in quantities is a bit more of an obvious, clear thing to do. This is where you update quantities rather than just clicking multiple times on an item. So within next step, let's go ahead and expand all of these. So within next step, you have the option to add a coupon code. So I put in one for 50. Coupon is now an entire step on its own. So that's where they can add a coupon. So one other thing here is if they didn't have a coupon, they could essentially just click on payment information. I can go from update quantities to payment information all at once. I don't have to necessarily go through that coupon step if I don't have a coupon. The payment method, still have the option for check or credit card. We're going to go ahead and pay with check today. But okay, so actually I can show you what it would look like to pay with credit card. So if I choose to split a purchase like this, I can essentially do half the purchase on a check, or I can do certain products on a check and certain products on a credit card. The reason for this is that so administrators, essentially you have the freedom to choose whichever one you want. So artists can always check out no matter what the combination is. So if your event is only accepting credit cards, but another event is only accepting checks, artists can still check out for those products at approximately the same time. So if I'm going through a check payment, I have the ability to add a check number here, and it's really simple. I just click submit check payment, and then I have a receipt. Then I can go back here, back to paying by credit card, and then I can go through the credit card and PayPal thing. So once I click move forward with the payment, I have the option to either add a card, looks like this, or I can go, or if I decide, oh no, now I want to pay with PayPal, I can go and I can pay with PayPal right there and go right to PayPal checkout. And part of this is actually a new integration with a service called Braintree, which is part of PayPal. And they sort of allow artists to also now save their payments in here so they can go through and just use the same card without having to re-enter it a bunch of times. So I'm going to go ahead and pay by check just so we can move this product into the received status. And yeah, and so the receipt, again, is right here. It will also be on the My ZAPPlications page. It will also be emailed to the email account associated with this account. So as soon as I am moved into incomplete, I need to click complete to submit it. So the thing about incomplete is that I will need to be told by the event administrator what I need to change. So I believe in this case, we're talking specifically about changing an image. So again, that's just something that needs to be communicated with the artist. Just for everybody else, actually, so I realized I didn't read this all the way around. So the question was, how can artists make sure they are correctly replacing images? For example, if they need to remove signatures in their images and we push their status to incomplete. As a quick reminder, incomplete only works if you are before your application deadline. If it is after your application deadline, you need to move them into the exception status so that they can edit their application. Since I hit complete and I was in incomplete, I can now, and I was told that I need to change something about my image. I could theoretically go into here, take a look. I could find the image. Hopefully I would have been told which image and I know which image I needed to replace, but I could also double check in here and be like, oh yes, that image is in there. If it's an issue of editing an image and re-uploading it, which it seems like it is, I'm going to need to go directly to the portfolio and I can do one of two things. If this, say, is the image with the signature on it, if I wanted to keep this original image in here, but also wanted to have a separate one that was without a signature on it, I could copy this, select yes, and then now I have a copy of nature. So I could go in here, and now I could click edit, and I could say nature without signature, and right here I have the option to replace the image. So that would be how an artist would do that. And then as soon as they were ready, they could submit it here, go back to their My ZAPPlication, go back to complete, and then I could go and be like, okay, so now I know that I want this one right here. So I want to go ahead and unselect what happened. The link is the only thing that links back to the portfolio. In the past, clicking on the image used to link back to the portfolio, but we changed that, so now you can click directly on the image. And I'm going to do nature without a signature and save and preview. And now I can double check, or I could have double checked previously that everything up at the top didn't have a signature. And once I'm ready, there's now this button called resubmit. So I can click that and my application is moved back to receive. It's a great place to direct artists if they have any questions. The only thing that we haven't gotten around to updating quite yet are the help videos, but we're just finishing those out. And once we have that, we will have a full artist help center for everyone. But other than that, all the other guides are up to date with the new site. So how to apply, for example, is new and refleshed out and has all those screenshots one could need for applying to a show on ZAPP on new ZAPP, essentially. Thank you so much for coming to our webinar. And if you do have any questions after this, or as you're thinking about this, or maybe if you go ahead and go play on the site and you do have questions, you're welcome to reach out to us at zapphelp@wesstaff.org. So that's ZAPPhelp@westas.org.